And this all comes as President Trump's Chicago crackdown coming into focus. The president says he'll decide whether to send in the National Guard in the next day or two. This as the city awaits enhanced ICE operations. And Mike Tobin has the latest from Chicago. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, ICE agents are operating in the city of Chicago right now as we speak. They picked up some people yesterday in the northwest suburb called Palatine. But despite what you're hearing from Illinois Democrats, you're not going to have columns of ICE agents walking down the street randomly snatching people off the street. The way these operations work is they have individuals that they have information on, that they have criminal histories, they're in the country illegally, but despite sanctuary policies and cashless bail, they are out on the street. So you have those are the individuals they're going to be going after, the individuals they're going after right now. Now, the Illinois National Guard has not yet received any orders to even begin preparations for deployment. If and when the Guard is sent to the streets of Chicago, they won't necessarily be the tip of the spear. They'll be adding to the manpower, doing things like traffic, helping out with logistics. Here's what Secretary Holman had to say about that.
The National Guard are always on the table. We use them in Los Angeles, and we use them in Washington, D.C. They're a force multiplier. Now, do they arrest illegal aliens? No. They're ICE officers, Border Patrol agents who have Title VIII authority to arrest illegal criminal aliens. But the National Guard does provide protection for us.
Now, we did see protests over the weekend to the tunes of hundreds who came out. They were a coalition of a number of different groups. So really, they were protesting everything under the sun, focusing on the Trump agenda. It fits the definition of a peaceful protest. They did their thing, they marched, and then they went home. In a western suburb called Broadview, there was a dust-up with federal agents. A federal agent appears to shove a woman to the ground and shove her male counterpart. Witnesses at the scene say the protesters had become aggressive and threatening at that point. As far as the criminal activity in Chicago, we don't have the weekend totals officially out of Chicago police so far, but it looks like 6 people were killed over the weekend, another 12 shot. Dana?
All right, Mike Tobin in Chicago for us. Thank you.
Will Cain joins us now, host of the Will Cain Show, 4 Eastern. Will, nice to see you, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
A moment ago on Truth Social, here's the president talking about crime. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone in just a matter of weeks. All caps there. Thank you, President Trump. And then they asked the question, who's next? He was also asked this question about going to war en route to the U.S. Open here in New York at Andrews Air Force Base. Watch here.
But you say that, darling, that's fake news. Why don't we defend? Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second grade. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our city. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Okay, so obviously that was the White House. My bad on that. I don't know what Chicago wants, Will. I don't know what your thought is on that, but maybe they're afraid it actually will work.
Yeah, I think, Bill, sometimes we think of this as a monolith. We say, what does the city of Chicago want? And that has to be distinguished from what Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois or Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago want. They want to make this a political battle, a tweet war, a PR war between themselves and Donald Trump so that they can play to their base. And to some extent, Donald Trump helps them out in that battle. The post that he made on Truth Social with the Apocalypse Now meme and say, I love the smell of deportations in the morning, gives them the ammunition that they want, but they take the bait. And then they end up having this fight over the PR of the fight, when the real fight is about what's happening in Chicago on the streets, or the horrible stories the two of you just reported from Charlotte or Washington, D.C. And the people of Chicago, I can only imagine, those who really suffer from the crime in that recidivist area, South Side, West Side, where it happens over and over again, they want safety. That's the war. That's the war. The war is on crime.
And Will, speaking of Democrats being outraged, they had plenty of that to showcase over the weekend. Watch here.
The President of the United States essentially just declared war on a major city in his own nation. This is not normal.
The terrible things that the President of the United States is saying about using troops in the Department of War in the city of Chicago is an embarrassment and disgusting.
I call it a threat. I call it embarrassing. I would call it performative.
And Will, just one more on that, because the last person to speak there's Governor Wes Moore, governor of Maryland. And here is Don Lemon On his YouTube channel, he found somebody that he wanted to talk to, might not have gotten the answer he expected. Watch.
The president said he wants to send troops here to Maryland. What do you think, Baltimore into Maryland?
I'm not opposed of it.
Right.
I think it'll be a good idea.
Why so?
Maybe we can clean up some of this crime-ridden neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know?
Is the crime bad?
Very bad. Atrocious.
So, Will, it's like President Trump is saying we have a crime problem, and the Democrats say, no, we just have a perception problem. But the reality on the ground from people who live there, as you were saying, is what it is.
See, this is what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You play the clips of Democrats acting like he's declaring war on an entire city. When the people that suffer from that crime, and by the way, if we're just putting a fine point on it, it is almost always minorities. It is more often than not black victims of black crime in black neighborhoods are asking for help. They've lived under this. They're the victims that have to deal with this. And, you know, Wes Moore or Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore, or Gavin Newsom in California have responded to President Trump by now surging local law enforcement. So President Trump declares war on crime, not cities, on crime, and these mayors want to play the political battle of always being in opposition to Donald Trump while secretly going, maybe we should surge crime, law enforcement to stop this crime in Baltimore or Chicago.
Yeah, well, we're told we'll get a decision on Chicago in a matter of days. We kind of thought that last week, but maybe this time it's for real, as we say. We'll see you at 4 o'clock Eastern, Will. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.